Academia. I just watched a couple of videos to see more thing, and since I knew that they were developing secret quirks, I had to think of one. And I finally freaking have. So, let's just get on with the dorm crap. So, All Might, of course, loses his quirk, and the dorm moving. I was always angry at all of them, even Christian this time, even though it wasn't his fault for getting kidnapped. He did attack All for one, but he did do something. He did do something to help in All Might's battle, so he's not in trouble. Only they are. The people who went to save him, and the people who didn't help. So, yeah. Basically, that's it. That's it for there. That is it for that part. So, now going over dorms. Now, I really want to show a dorm example, because that would be fun. Because I actually have a type of dorm that I'd want if I was in My Hero. So, of course, all the rooms are the same except for Kirsten's. It's kind of different. Bakugo actually does show his room, and his is always anger. He's got, like, punching bags to explode on, which he puts tons of stuff in to explode. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. Christian's room is going to be not a black room. That's kind of... It's not going to be like Tokoyami's. She's going to be a nice, blue-walled room with a sword, of course, because I love swords, so they're my favorite weapon, and a dog, a doggo, a little doggo. He's got a baby doggo. I'm just gonna name a random breed. Dachshund. He has a little baby dachshund with him, and he's like, hey, how come he got to bring a dog? And he's like, I mean, they didn't tell us not to bring a pet. And then he snaps his fingers, and then a robot comes and says, hello. Says, this is the guy who feeds my dog when I'm not home and takes care of him. And then he's like, alright, you can go back to resting. So, whatever, we're gonna not go over the dorms anymore. Next is quirk training. Deku, of course, unlocks his shoot style. Bakugo unlocks AP shot auto cannon. Kirishima unlocks all his crap. Todoroki unlocks his crap. Christian's is actually a different one. He learns something. So he did this in the sports festival, but now he has more control. So he puts a giant fireball in the air, then absorbs it into his body, and then explodes with power, turning him into a dark fire cloak that boosts his speed, senses, and every other thing that he uses in a fight. Yeah, just saying, I'm using the quote from Kaioken, Blue Kaioken. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's basically what it is. He goes, and that powers him up so much more. That's stronger than One For All full cowling 50%. That's stronger than that. And he also learns shape-shifting, so he can shape his fire into anything. He can actually create a blade a sword out of fire. Well, it's like a hand blade. It's like Zamasu's and Goku Black's. It's like that. It's not like an actual sword that he holds in his hand. So, yeah. He learns that. Now for their provisional hero exams. Provisional license. Toga, of course, enters as a random girl. Blah, 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 blah. Immediately, Christian runs off and says, "See ya!" And immediately activates his dark fire cloak and says, "I'm gonna go get some people, alright?" Immediately, a ball is whipped at him, but then then he catches it and burns it and says, "Sorry, did you want it to throw that at me?" And then immediately, tons of balls come out and he says, "Fire barrier!" He creates a barrier around him, and the balls are all ricocheted right back to the people, eliminating tons of opponents. And immediately, he passes. He's like, "Oh, come on, I didn't even want to pass with that." He didn't even want to pass. He wanted to actually try, and he says, "Well, screw it, I want to do more." So, he goes to the city where that wind boy is, and he says, "Hey, dude." And then he whips a ball, and then he throws a ball at his chest, saying, goodbye, and then knees him in the stomach and throws him up and says, goodbye, and then throws in 2 more balls at him, hitting the rest of his targets, knocking Wind Boy out. So, yeah. Then everyone goes, and he's like, maybe I can do this. He lights everyone's balls up with fire, and then says, goodbye, and yeets them all down. And he has tons of points now. He passes. He's like, easy. Deku is like, what? He already passed? No fair. He's like, this is my power of the dark cloak. The dark fire cloak. Now this is damn helpful. He deactivates his cloak and runs to the exit. He's about to get thrown at by a ball. Then he goes, nice try. Then crumbles the ball and blasts. And then he activates his dark cloak and blitzes through. And says, alright, whatever, I passed. So the rest of the preliminary thingies go normally. And so we see the next part. The fighting part, I'm pretty sure. Where we see Gang Orca show up. And Christian's back in there. And he goes, alright, this should be a challenge. So he goes into his base form. And then says, hey, Gang Orca! Gang Orca immediately, he goes for a try and punches him. It's caught. And then he's sent away by a sound wave. And then he's like on the ground on his knee and says, oh, frick! And then he says, whatever. And then he goes, dark cloak. He creates a little ball, a giant ball of fire, and absorbs it and goes, dark cloak! Ah! Then he goes and blitzes him and punches him in the face. Punches Gang Orca, sending him up in the air. Then goes, see ya! Does a backflip and goes, infamy! And kicks him down. Kicks Gang Orca and says, goodbye. Then he puts his hand to his face and says, goodbye, and then blasts Gang Orca into a wall. And he says, this dark cloak is insane! I just defeated a pro hero with that. Immediately he's punched in the back, breaking his back. He goes, ah, free! Says, and Gang Orca says, you got off guard. And then he says, no, I didn't! And he appears behind him and punches Gang Orca. And then Deku comes, oh, I want a piece of that action. He blitzes over in one for all 30% and punches Gang Orca, but it doesn't do a lot. Then he puts a lot more power into it and sends him flying. Now, I don't feel like covering the rest of this, so you'll see this in part 6.